Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the FuReel Podcast. Here next to me is Sifu Gawain, master and founder of the Jhung Academy, aka Mifaja.
Faja. I say that every time, don't I?
Yeah. My name is Jhung and I'm a senior instructor at the Jhung Academy. On the podcast, we talk about what we experience whilst we're practicing and teaching Kung Fu and Tai Chi and how it benefits our lives and the three parts that make us whole: the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Oh, very good.
And whilst you're listening and have any questions for us, questions and wonderings, you can send them to our email address, FuReel@jingmo.com.au, FuReel@gingmo.com.au. FuReel is about passion, it's about culture. It's not just about sharing a Chinese martial art, but it's about sharing the light at the end of my tunnel, and maybe this could be the light at the end of your tunnel, or you can just enjoy some really cool content, and this is FuReel. Alright, so with the questions and wonderings, we have a few Jingmoers who have sent in some pretty good questions, and we said let's have a crack at discussing them this afternoon.
Okay.
Firstly, it's pretty bloody hot here in the light in the podcast room.
This is PG. M rated.
M, yeah. Anyway, questions and wonderings from Scarlett, Piers, and Tarrant. And some of them, like Piers's section, has multiple questions. So
right, okay, cool.
let's start with Scarlett on the top of my list.
Yep.
She says, I'm curious as to the belt colours and their meaning / representation, if any. I think we kind of talked about this before. But my understanding is that they gradually lead up to a hierarchy of levels.
Yep.
It is a hierarchy of levels within the Kung Fu system. But I think you have more understanding around how you made that, because you made them, didn't you?
Oh no, not me.
Yeah.
My dad, your grandfather, and your grand uncle.
Okay.
So and my uncle Henry, they got together with Dr. Tan at the time, who was a senior student as well. And my understanding is, actually, my uncle Henry may not have been there. I might take that back. It's unfair for me to say that if I'm not sure. So definitely my father and Dr. Tan and Dr. Dominic were there during that period of time when the grading system was created. So my recollection is it was 1973. And the reason why I know that is because of the house that it took place in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when we were living there. It was pretty evident very early in the stage when we first started. Kung Fu was only for Chinese people.
Yeah.
And that was I think that was a response to the White Australia policy that had been abolished in the early 1960s. I think it was 63 as well. But when the doors opened to Caucasians learning Kung Fu, it was pretty evident at that stage that there needed to be a system that gave people a bit of clarity. And I think the market demanded it, if I just put it in those terms, in that there was this expectation that there has to be a system, because Taekwondo had a system, Karate had a system, Judo had a system, they all had a system, so Kung Fu should have a system. And I think that was probably the joint motivators for there to be a belt system. When it first started out, it was quite loose. I remember we still had no idea who was teaching what when, like what would you learn and who was going to do it and when would you learn it. But at least you knew that, so for example, white belt, it had this content and so on and so forth. Back then we were still teaching the traditional Tonglong system, so Dong Gong Jiao Ga Tonglong. And in Hong Kong, where it originated, where it went back to, Hong Kong still didn't have a system, so it was quite a task, I think, for our ancestors of Kung Fu to have come up with this system. Colour-wise, red belt, so it followed the Chinese hierarchical system around colour, and red has always been seen and known as a prosperous colour, and also a colour that was attached to royalty. So it has this red has this attachment to being highly attained. So red belt became the highest belt level. Royal blue was the next high level in the advanced levels, which ended up becoming the intermediate in modern time. Also a royal colour. And jade green. So green, blue, red, and black. So black in the Chinese culture is like the beginning of the hierarchy of colours, and so therefore it was quite natural that black was the first step for our system, being a Chinese-based system, and then green, blue, and red. And then what happened in between was white, yellow, orange. That happened before green, and then purple, brown happened before red. And now, as for why it was those colours, I don't believe that there was any particular interpretation at the time, other than it made sense.
Yep. And
I think that part of it was, as often what we do as people is we see what is acceptable and what is what's closer to the norm.
Yep.
And I think with the possibility with the Japanese arts having a similar colour range, that it made sense when black, they don't, they start with black of course, but white, yellow, and then orange, and then there was the jade green, royal blue, and then purple, brown, red, being tones of.
Yeah.
So that's how the main colours were black, jade green, royal blue, and red. Yep. They were the four main pillars of the colour range, and then I think the other colours might have just moved in. In modern time, as in today, we put meaning to things a little differently. And back in those days, the coloured belt was not a belt; it was a patch. Oh. So we put patches on our black belt, and black belt stayed with us all the way through.
Yeah.
Eventually, that evolved to the black belt was the first belt, and then we were able to make a yellow belt and so on. So then those belts went over the top of the black belt.
Yeah.
And I think that started happening. Around the late 70s, maybe 78, 79, around there. And today, most recently, the most recent adaptation is that the coloured belt actually stays on the bottom.
Yeah.
And the meaning I put to that is that having a black belt on top reminds me that I'm always a student, I'm always learning.
Yep.
Because what I did notice over the decades was there was a real attachment to being a red belt.
Yeah.
And that when you got to red belt, you'd made it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the wrong message, because that's not how it is for me, at least. And so therefore we flipped it and said, no, the coloured belt always goes underneath. So we only just see that as an accent.
Yeah.
But the black belt always reminds us that it's the journey belt. It's the belt that started with us, and it's the belt that we'll continue to wear throughout our journey.
Yeah.
So it's the one belt that stays.
Yep.
And that's always on top now.
Yep.
Which signifies that I'm always a student.
Yeah, and that happened recently, because I remember wearing my colour belts on top.
Yeah.
In my training.
Yeah. Yeah, it
was
was.
that Jolly Mont?
Jolly Mont? Yeah, Jolly Mont-ish.
Put it when you flipped it?
From when I flipped it? Let's ask Dicey Hing, actually. Dicey Hing might remember.
It was around that time, at least.
Oh, Yi Sing Tim might remember too. I can't remember exactly when it happened.
Yeah, but I think it's around that time.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Cool. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that fan on.
What fan?
Big fan in the corner.
Ah. Is that why it's humming? Oh. Oh.
I think also it's just where we are. So much, there's a fridge there, there's a fridge over there.
Yeah, there's electronics everywhere. Yeah.
So it's just that. We're not in a,
Wow, that's a big difference without fan.
we're not in a,
Can actually hear that it's not there.
in a studio.
Hmm.
All right,
Okay.
next question
Mm.
from Piers.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I also haven't personally seen much free sparring practice and in any Jingmo-kun media. Since I only attend Tai Chi right now, I'm curious how much sparring plays as a part of Jingmo training and what kind of rules or safety guards you prefer.
Mm.
Mm.
So is that a two-part question?
No,
You said that was it.
That's one question,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
and there's two more after that.
Okay, cool. So thanks, Piers. From a point of view of sparring, in the context, I think first we have to define what sparring looks like.
Okay.
Because some people obviously, sparring can look like a fight,
Yeah.
right down to a role play. So
Yeah.
somebody's the attacker, somebody's the defender. So it really depends on how it's defined.
Yeah, but I think commonly it's working on a particular skill as well,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's how I see
Yeah.
training and sparring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting question because often I hear people talk about learning how to fight and defend yourself. You have to put yourself in the situation and go for it.
Mm.
I say contextually there's something wrong with that from my perspective, and that is that what I'm doing when I train in that way, where it's you and me and we're going to spar and see who gets the better today, what it sets up in my head is that I'm preparing for a terrible event that's going to happen in the future.
Mm.
So this someday, one day doomsday thing is looming, and I don't know when it is. Now, I say this because from my personal experience, that's the way we used to train.
Yep.
We used to have sparring, and we didn't wear gloves, so it was either barehanded and barefooted, and you did your best to wear it, or you put hand pads on. And it was actually worse. People thought putting hand pads on, so one person had hand pads and the other person didn't. You know, you'd think that that's actually better. It's worse. Getting hit with a hand pad is far worse than getting hit with a palm.
Yeah.
Because there's this reverberation that happens. It's horrible, actually. I remember it. And there used to be a joke at the academy back in the 70s around wearing hand pads. You know, we'd get people who would come to have a fight, to challenge us.
Yeah.
And lots of times I remember seeing this and being there, and guys would come in, coming from a different martial art discipline, and say, you know, do you guys spar? And we say, well, what do you mean by spar? And he says, well, free sparring. I want to see whether your kung fu is any good. And we said, oh my gosh, again, it's happening again. So then it was like, all right.
How many in a week?
Yeah, I would say there would be at least one a month.
Oh,
Yeah, it wasn't every week, but once a month. That's a lot.
still, yeah.
That's a lot. Like, you go to training to feel safe, not to feel like anytime someone can come in and have a go.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the running joke at the academy back then was, all right, we'll let you be bare knuckled. So if you hit me, say for example, if you're the guy coming off the street challenging us,
Yeah.
you can be bare knuckles. So if you punch me, I'm going to hurt, but I'm going to put a hand pad on. So if I hit you, because you're home territory advantage,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to put a hand pad on, so I'm not going to hit you. But
Yeah.
it was actually worse
Okay.
because the person wearing the hand pads instantly could hit as hard as they could
Yeah.
because there was
True.
no mark.
Yeah.
And the reverberation from the rubber in the hand pad it just shook the brain around massively. And the sound in the ears, and it's like pock in the side of the eardrum was horrible stuff. So what I noticed was, as a kid growing up around all of that, is that there was this attitude of training, sparring, to prepare myself against the enemy, the other. And that, although it kind of made sense to me as a youth growing up, and then a young adult, because that fed something in my ego, and it kind of matched the evolution that I was going through as a human, that I could fight and protect.
Survival of the fittest.
So survival of the fittest. It kind of made sense, but what it ended up doing was it created this, I'm never going to know, so therefore I don't know if I'm good enough yet.
Yeah.
This question, this constant question of, are my skills good enough yet? Because when I go to sparring, there's always going to be someone better than me.
Yeah.
And it's always the someday, one day looming event. So I'm training in fear. The worst thing was the fear.
Yeah.
It was like coming to training, wanting to feel better, but actually coming to training and reinforcing the fact that I may not be enough.
Yeah.
So it created a dependency, which, from a business model is probably a good thing. But at the same time, it wasn't good for people.
Yeah.
So I noticed that within myself. I noticed that within my Kung Fu brothers and sisters. There was this constant talk, this chatter all the time. And then what it ended up resulting in is in people going out and taking on any opportunity to test the skills. So that's what free sparring did back in the 70s. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just reporting on my noticing, really.
Yep.
And it started to formalize a little better in the mid-late 80s, where we had a structure around the sparring which was aimed at developing a particular skill. So we role-played it. So one person was the attacker, the other person was the defender. So one person did non-Jingmo and the other one was doing Jingmo.
Yep.
And my aim was to use a particular skill or a particular technique effectively, and my partner's objective was to demonstrate flaws in my ability. So that was a little better, but we were still transitioning. So it actually meant that there was still quite a lot of ego stuff going on, and who was the top red belt around at the time, and stuff. And it really came to a head one time when there was a second degree red belt, which I'll leave nameless. Those who are there will know who I'm talking about. Actually thought it was okay. He didn't. I don't think he even believed that he had hurt anyone. But he was the first red belt that I dismissed from the school. And I did it in class, and I said, "That's enough. I've asked you to back off, to restrain yourself. This is not a fight. It's not okay to hurt each other. And now you've just hurt him again." I said, "That's it. There's the door. You're not welcome back." So then it was the first time I stood for that type of action in class is not acceptable. And it was Elder Street days. So the red belts who were there then will know who I'm talking about, because it was a big deal, of course. But do we spar? Yes, we do. And we do it in a way, Pierce, that's about growing our skill. And after having done it, if a student feels like they have learnt something and grown as a person from having done it, then I've done my job. If a person feels like they're hopeless and they need to come back again to learn some more because they just got pummeled, then I didn't do my job,
Mm.
right, as an instructor. And we do it in a very high pressure scenario. So I say one-on-one sparring really is not the best use of our time. So what we do from purple belt upwards is we have our multiple opponent situations, and in multiple opponents we have several stages that we slowly introduce the skills and give people time to acquire the skills before we keep upping the ante. Otherwise, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
So we move through that step by step so that a person actually learns all the way through, actually grows as a person and develops greater confidence, and most equally importantly, the skill that matches the confidence and the knowing of what they can and can't do. Because that's confidence, not being the best, not thinking we're the best fighter in the world is confident. Confidence is actually knowing what my limitations are. So I can play this game all the way up to this point. When we get to that point, I have to exit the game because I'm in danger. But I'll keep playing it up until that point. And that, for me, it results in satisfaction. And I can learn from that because I'm playing a game within certain boundaries and certain rules.
Yep. And
I can play the best of my ability. It's like any game, like rugby, basketball, whatever. We play the game based on very clear rules, and we can contest because everyone plays within the same rules.
Yeah.
And therefore it's safe.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like playing sport. Therefore it becomes safe. What has it become dangerous is when someone breaks a rule.
Yeah.
And often the rules are there for people's safety. So if you break that rule, then someone's at risk. Yep. So yes, we do spar. It starts off looking like pad work. That's what I consider to be the very, very first steps of sparring, where there is a definite role play, there is a definite system and routine to it all, and that happens right from the very first day. And then by the time we get through the intermediate levels up until blue belt, then the applications become more challenging. You can't nominate how you're going to be attacked when you become a blue belt. Your partner just attacks you, and you respond in a controlled fashion. So the sparring then goes up a notch in blue belt. So from black through to the end of green, we all do sparring, but it's controlled. And you nominate how you'd like to be attacked with the right fist, the left fist, a right kick, a multiple attack, a jab first and then across, or whatever it is, or grab me by the neck, So that nomination happens in the early stages. But then blue belt, it goes up a notch, and then purple belt goes up a notch again, and every belt thereafter, until the point there is nobody's wearing any pads and nobody has a particular role. Everybody is out there to protect themselves and to expose their partner's weaknesses in a multiple situation. And that's when all red belts are together, and it's, in common language is every man to himself, but it's not ruthless and malicious in any way. It's like any person I engage with is my pseudo opponent, my sparring partner, and it's multiple. So I could be attacked by two people, and I deal with it accordingly. So it takes a lot of control and a lot of skill and thousands of hours of training to get to that point, to have literally have all the ducks in the line, so that you're able to deliver a strike. You can see what's about to happen, compute, have a response, and deliver it all within a split second, whilst watching another person who's verging on attacking you at the same time. And that's a lot of processing going on in a couple of seconds. So that's what we do. And I know, Pierce, he's only been to the Tai Chi classes, so he wouldn't see this, but that's how the Kung Fu is done.
Okay. Second thing from him. What are your thoughts on training and sparring with practitioners of other styles?
Can I go back?
What's that?
So have I missed anything? Is there anything you've got to add to that with the sparring? Because you do a lot more of it now than I do.
No, I think that's... that's good.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I got that right.
All right. So let me start again. What are your thoughts on training and sparring with practitioners of other styles? Should you focus on a certain level of learning in your own style first? Is it good to pressure test from early on, or do you think it isn't good use of training time?
Well, I don't think pressure testing is good at all.
Yeah.
Because the underlying message is...
You're not good enough yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in pressure testing. In my experience, training with anyone requires collaboration. And I think that the moment we step out of our community of like thinkers, we all think in the same way, what we put ourselves at risk of are training with people who have different boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's like saying to a judo player, spar with a karate guy.
Yeah.
And we've done that in freeform fighting. And I must say that was one of the most interesting bouts that I've hosted, watching a judo player and a karate, Kyokushin karate. Remember, were you there that night? I'm sure you were.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think, Piers, that is really... it sounds like it's a great idea, but there's an enormous amount of risk involved, because what one person thinks is normal might be completely opposite end of the scale to another person. Yeah.
I guess I think of freeform in that question, training with other practitioners, and like I've been lucky to have these 4 walls, and the collaboration of people coming to do freeform, to have a fight with them in the competition, but also there's a few times where we actually train with others without the competition mindset, just training in class. And I think on a surface level, physically, it was fun and good in that, because they're so different. I had to think of ways, and it challenged me in that way. And then in a kind of internal sense, it's always triggering those emotions of stuff happening, whatever is coming at me. Because when you get punched, it hurts, and then it's a person you don't know, so then you're like, oh, should I hit him harder? And then it's all that stuff as well. Because we have the awesome opportunity, like seeing Brian and I sharing together this morning, how nice it is to be training with a like-minded sort of belt level, but also knowing each other's limits and skills to go at 100% this morning, and not worry about if we're going to hurt each other or whatnot, because we know and we understand that when we're doing usages or pad work, we can go to this level together, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Next question. Yeah, do you have anything to add from like freeform days in training with other practitioners?
It was. I'm very grateful for Sensei David and Sensei Darren of the Perth Kyokushin, and Master Slade Norris of Kenpo, who joined in. Seeing Torren, also Master Instructor of Taekwondo, also brought his people along. I think it takes... it's not a martial art that really... getting too like martial arts or too unlike martial arts doesn't necessarily mean that two like martial arts will get along and train well together. And too unlike martial arts doesn't assume that they can never train together. I think it's the people. For me, freeform fighting and the collaboration we had with those groups here in Perth is a very special thing. And it's about people as opposed to martial arts. What the styles are, because all the styles were completely different. And the beautiful thing about it was that because the majority, there were some exceptions, majority of instructors had the same ethos as our founding members did, then it meant the students had the same ethos when they came and competed.
Mm.
So they could go full on, like there are some full on bouts, absolutely going hammer and tong at each other. And because the rules were set up so that it didn't favour one particular style of fighting than another, it actually meant that these bouts were very challenging. And then afterwards, the mutual respect that each of the competitors had for each other, regardless of who won and who lost, was like that was the gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yep.
So for me, the freeform fighting was a great opportunity and a real privilege to be able to host over those years. I can't even remember how many bouts we had at one. We had 4 in a year, didn't we? At one stage.
Yeah.
It was
every quarter.
Every quarter, and had like 2 hours worth of fighting each night. There was lots of bouts, and there were like 3 2-minute rounds. So it was a lot of fighting, and we had lots of support from our community. Doctors that would come in and look after anyone's injuries if they had some. Officials from all different schools coming in and volunteering their time. It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I just want to go back a step.
Okay.
Where there's a general fixation around self-defense and sparring, and thinking that sparring and self-defense or fighting ability all relate to each other. They kind of do, but they kind of don't. Like what Pierce probably does understand is, given the job that he does, is that to harm another human being is actually really, really easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much skill at all. It just takes intent. So regardless of whether my fist is a weapon, or rock is a weapon, or steel bar is a weapon, if my intent is to hurt another person, doesn't matter what weapon I have, I'll have a go. And more than likely, I'll be able to do it. The most challenging thing actually is having the urge to hurt another one, and then being able to restrain oneself from acting that out. That's really hard. And for me, that's what the training is about. The training is about noticing the process, it's what's ticking over, and then putting in management. So how do I manage myself in this space? What am I going to do? Because I really feel like I'm going to punch this guy's lights out. How am I going to do this? Or it may not even be a guy. It might even be like we those of us in relationships will probably think it's quite normal that you have an argument with your spouse or your partner. Well, how do you stop yourself from saying things that you know aren't true but are really hurtful? It's really hard.
Yep.
Right? So it's all of that. It's not even that. That was a bit intense, but it's like even we just moved out of a rental property, and we get this odd email, and it's like, well, how do you respond to that in a nice way? Because what I really want to say in a reply email is not really nice. So how do I deal with that?
Yep.
That in actual fact is where martial arts is used in everyday life.
Yep.
It's not about the someday, one day gruesome event where this big, hairy, ugly person that's going to want to rip your head off and really do a lot of harm to you, and you want to have all the skills necessary to deal with that.
Yep.
It's actually all the little battles that we have along the journey of the road, all the little bumps. How do we manage ourselves through all of that so that we're honouring us and we're honouring others at the same time?
Yep.
That's where the real challenge is.
Yep.
So the sparring thing, I don't hold a lot of importance on it, really. If I want to hurt someone, it's just you go out there and do it. It's like I said, it doesn't take a lot of skill to do that. But it's actually the opposite that takes the skill.
Yep.
Mm.
All right. Cool. Hope we answered that, Pierce.
Yeah.
Tarrant, a question from Tarrant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think doing different activities like line dancing, gym, or work, etc., has an effect on your training in Kung Fu or Tai Chi?
An effect?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Maybe. maybe.
In what way?
Look, I do more Kung Fu training than anyone, so I'm on the other side where it's
You're
how
on the
my
other
Kung
side.
Fu affect my other things that I do.
Yeah.
Rather than most people work and go
Yeah.
to the gym and stuff like that more often
Yeah.
than they train.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you just shared, my training is about how do I apply my skills, not just my physical skills, but my skills to my everyday life. And then how does that affect my that's my other activities. My other activity isn't Kung Fu and Tai Chi, if that makes sense. So yeah, what do you think?
I think maybe Tarrant's talking about the physical side of it. Like if you did a lot of, typically, like if we did a lot of bicep curls, does that make us stronger? My approach really is that everything needs to be in harmony. So not too much of one thing.
Yeah.
And then everything, it'll be quite balanced. What I do notice is that people work out in the gym after having started training get very stiff.
Yeah.
And so their range of motion is quite limited. And that seems to be the common blockage for the guys and girls who work out in the gym, and specifically bench presses. I don't know what it is about the bench press, but it's like getting that big chest. Seems like it's a good idea. And look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you want it to improve your Kung Fu, then it's the wrong exercise to do, because what it does is it creates two big door stops in the front, and you can't move your arms down the center line anymore.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. But if you're looking to get fit, general fitness, cardio, aerobic, and so on, and you feel good after doing it, I would say do it.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not one that say that I used to be in my 20s. I used to say I'd only do Kung Fu. I said if you do anything else, you're wasting your time. But that's not true.
Should I say that? I'm in my 20s.
You can try.
I only do Kung Fu. If you do anything else, you're wasting your time. I'm in my 20s.
How'd that feel?
I feel nothing.
Yeah.
I'm 20.
Oh, you're 25 this year, aren't you?
Yeah. Am I?
Yeah.
Dad?
Yeah.
I'll test you now.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Am
a
I?
test.
Am I?
Yeah.
How old am I this year?
25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lucky. Lucky. Yeah, alright. Well, that's all the questions and wonderings from everybody.
Cool. Thanks
Last
very much.
20 minutes-ish of the episode. What do we have installed?
Well, I thought we'd talk about something that not everyone knew was going on.
Oh, secret stuff.
Secret stuff.
Secret.
Last, 2 weeks ago
No.
during school holidays? 3 weeks ago? Was it
We're
3?
almost at the in middle of Feb.
Right, so 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago. See, it's such a long time ago now, and no one knows about it. We were doing playthrough classes as workshops for schools of early learning, so daycare centres in Perth, and we did a daycare, one daycare a day for 5 days.
One daycare a day keeps the doctor away.
Does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. So I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I know you haven't, and it was the first time we went out as a crew going to daycare centres. What was the youngest child we had? 3.5.
Yeah, maybe 3, close to 4.
Yeah. And the oldest was 4.5.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe 4.5.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I thought we tag teamed. I did one bit, you did another bit. And it seemed to work all right.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
Which bit?
Your bit.
My bit?
Yeah. Like, typically, right, many of my colleagues who run schools will, most of them don't go near children at all.
Or scared of children.
As in not teaching kids at all.
Yeah.
And they'll only teach kids once they turn 16, 17.
It's not kids, that's adolescent.
Yeah, adolescent, exactly. I even have one colleague of mine who says, no, children are too much trouble, they're too hard, I don't teach kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So he only teaches adolescents up. And then most of them say that. The kids take up too much time. And the other statement is that you don't get much satisfaction from teaching children.
Right.
That's the other underlying feedback I get.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking in the industry.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed myself, and I got a lot from it.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. And for me, my message to the children was to just give them one thing, and the one thing was that Kung Fu means kindness.
Yeah.
So if you're practicing Kung Fu, you're practicing how to be kind. And asking them, what are the things you can do to be kind to each other? I thought I was really cool how they could actually tell me all the different things they can do to show kindness to other children.
It's very simple. That's what I realized. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
From the other side of the camera when I was recording you
Yeah.
during those times. It's like, give each other cuddles.
Yeah.
It's like very simple things which I don't often think about.
Yeah.
Like, you expect this.
Yeah.
Or at least sometimes I'm expecting this great big sentence that describes kindness.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you be kind?
Yeah.
Give each other cuddles in the playground.
Yeah.
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 That's pretty.
Yeah. And then it was, so if you're playing a game and someone wants to play, what do? Invite them to play.
Yeah.
If someone runs and falls over, what do? Give them a cuddle.
Yeah.
It's
very
pretty simple
things,
Yeah.
which we forget.
Yeah,
at
that's true.
times.
Yeah, that's very true. It's easy to forget.
Yeah. Well, my part then, after Sifu was talked about kindness and stuff, is I just showed them and I got them to do it with me. Some of the kung fu stuff that we do, get their body moving and just have some fun.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love watching their face.
Yeah.
When I do the first 13 of the Yilu.
Yeah.
To demonstrate to them, and I would say to them, all right, so watch carefully.
Yeah.
Because this is what we're going to teach you today.
Yeah.
You have to remember this.
Yeah.
And they kind of went, oh yeah. And then when I start, it's like their eyes get bigger. And they get through 30 and they get bigger. And they get to half when they get bigger.
Yeah.
And by the time it's at the end, they're like looking like stunned mullets going like that. And I said, so, do you remember all of that? And then some kids would go, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
It's
okay.
Great. It's great.
Yeah. It was really cool. Just no reservation at all.
What's one thing you got from that whole week? That was 4-ish weeks ago.
Kindness is simple. It's hard to remember, hard to execute, but easy to do.
Yeah.
Like the simplest things make the biggest difference, but it seems like the hardest barrier for me is to get past my own stories around showing a kind gesture to another. And particularly when coming from a hurt space.
Yep.
If we're having an argument or whatever, coming from a hurt space is really difficult to reach out and be kind to the person who you perceived who's just hurt you.
Yeah.
So being with the kids was great. They just make it so easy.
Yeah.
What about you?
What did I get? I got through the whole week that, like at the first day, I was quite nervous and I thought about a structure that I had to I wanted to rely on, because going in there I didn't know what it was going to look like. And for me that's like a safety thing where I know what I'm doing. But that went out the window in the first 2 seconds. But by the end and throughout, what I realized was just to have fun. And once again, like kindness, like they demonstrated, it's actually quite simple. Just do the thing, have fun. And it's my own stories and process that I attach, that I have to do a certain thing and have them remember it or something like that. Whereas if just have fun, it all just goes by, and we're actually just there to show them give them an experience, because they're not in a class and they're not coming to us, we're going to them, so they're in their environment. So pretty much I reckon they would have just had a nap or had something to eat after, and then their day goes on. It's just another thing that comes along. So just having fun, and letting go of my rigidness around.
You have rigidness.
So do you, mate.
Oh, no, I'm asking you. Do you have rigidness? Look at the eyes.
Trying to share my point, and it busts a joke out, guys. Trying to be a little bit serious,
Sorry.
talking about what I got from it.
All right,
That's all I got. No, shutting down. I'm rigid now. Shutting down. You can close the podcast.
Oh, dear. Well, I'm glad you recognise your own rigidness. That's good.
Thanks, homie.
Oh, dear. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Why are you laughing, man? Don't cry.
Okay. I'm glad that you've noticed your own rigidness. That's good. That's good. It's very insightful.
I try until someone busts a joke in the middle of my insightfulness.
Sorry. Take back the joke.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode today. Any last words before we sign off? Yes.
Yes. Tai Chi Day at Yagan Square coming up.
Tai Chi Day
At Yagan Square.
at Yagan Square, Perth City.
Yes. It's my most adventurous, ambitious event.
Yep.
And I think as an academy, we're going to be really quite stretched and challenged by it, but I think we'll be all right.
Yep. So what is Tai Chi Day
So
at Yagan Square?
Yeah, it started off as a sharing event here with the town of Cambridge. Last year we did 2 of them, and basically it's just encouraging people to get out and doing some Tai Chi activity for a morning, just for an hour, and share with them the value of daily practice, and then hopefully inspire some to either resume their own daily practice, or if they don't have one and they want to join us, then they can come here and do ours along with us.
Do you have to pay for that
No,
morning?
no, it's free.
Free?
Yeah, free.
Free.
So Yagan Square,
Nice.
Sunday the 23rd of February,
All right.
2020.
Mark that in your calendar, guys.
10
This
a.m.
episode will definitely be out before then, so
It's good.
10 a.m. to 11,
Yes.
Sunday, 23rd of Feb,
2020.
Yagan Square, Tai Chi, free Tai Chi,
Tai Chi Day.
Tai Chi Day.
It's all on Facebook. It's on Eventbrite. It's even on the City of Perth site.
Cool.
Yeah, wherever they're having events.
All right. Search that up, everyone.
Yep.
Come down. Let us know if you're coming from the podcast.
Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it then.
That's it then.
That's it.
That's it then.
Cool. You can see more FuReel content on Instagram. That's a FuReel Official, and YouTube on FuReel TV. And yeah, that's it. Until next time. See you guys.
See you.